caught my brother in bed with my fiancée. Family forgave them, ambushed me at Christmas and tried to reunite us, so I ghosted them forever and built a new life. I, 25 male, grew up in a pretty tight-knit family. I have a brother, 24 male, and sister, 22 female, and was very close to my parents, 52 male, 50 female, spending every holiday there, most weekends during college. We grew up on the suburbs of Minneapolis and all went to the University of Minnesota. A year ago, if you would have told me where I would be at today, I would have laughed at your pessimism. But here we are. I met Stacy, 24 female, during my sophomore year of college, and we dated until I proposed last December. She said yes, and we were planning on getting married next summer and spending our lives in Minnesota. But in April, my life fell apart. I came home early to find my brother in bed with my fiancée. I freaked out and left and kicked her out of our shared apartment. Days later, she came back and said she had fallen in love with my brother over the years and that she was sorry, but was where her heart was. She moved out and I blocked her and my brother. Initially, the rest of my family took my side and banned my brother from family events. I slowly began to heal. I had a work opportunity come up. My boss pulled me in and said that he had suggested I leave the office in Chicago. They are kind of mess and the company wanted someone from headquarters to take over. I couldn't believe it, but I said yes. I never thought I'd leave Minnesota, but thought it was time for a change. This all happened in early November and the plan was to move after Christmas. My plan was to tell the family at Thanksgiving and then spend Christmas one last time before moving. But of course, my ex and brother had to stick the knife in one last time before they left. When I showed up for Thanksgiving at my parents' house, there were several cars as the whole extended family comes over, so I didn't even notice my brother's car. I entered the house and the first thing I see is my ex and brother talking with my aunt. I freeze as my aunt calls for my mom to come in. My brother and ex won't look me in the eye. My mom and dad come in, greet me and ask me to sit down in the living room. I sit away from my brother and ex, but I see the rest of the family, including my sister, sits closer to them. My mom starts explaining that what they did was wrong and terrible, but that she hates that the family is split. She says I need to work toward forgiveness. My ex and brother both started to apologize, but I put my hand up. I turned to my sister and asked her if she agreed. She had tears in her eyes but nodded. Asked my dad the same question. He said yes pretty firmly. I was alone. I got up and walked out. I heard a couple people yelling after me, but I didn't respond. I drove to a McDonald's, ate a pretty SHTY Thanksgiving meal and went through my options and decided cutting them off was my best bet. I had saved plenty. I didn't need them and they didn't know where I was moving. I blocked them all on my phone, but it was my parents' plan that I was on, so I turned the phone in the next week and got on my own plan. Doubled my cell bill, but it was worth it to get a new number. I blocked them on social media, and I told my boss that I wanted to move to Chicago early. Talked to the landlord of the apartment I was looking to rent and he was happy to let me in early. I moved to Chicago on December 15th and my family had no idea. A few friends knew and it must have slipped because last night I got an Instagram DM from what I assume is my mom on a new profile asking why I would move without telling them, and that the family missed and loved me and that I needed to still make time for Christmas. I responded by saying that she only had one son now and that I was no longer family. I then blocked her new account and locked down my profile and other social media. I've been looking to change my last name as well. I've left that life behind and I'm excited to see what Chicago has to offer. Update: can't believe it's almost Christmas again. I, 26 male, had a pretty terrific first year in Chicago. I'm dating a wonderful woman, changed my last name, and outside of one moment, have completely gotten my family out of my life. In January, one of my sister's friends, Jenny, 23 female, messaged me wanting to know she was in the city and if I would help her move in and show her around. Now, a smarter guy would probably have been able to figure out what was up, but she is very attractive, and so I thought with something other than my brain. It was the weekend after the new year, and when I got to her place I could see my brother and father moving her stuff out of the U-Haul. I stopped, but my mom had been looking out and called out to me. Everyone stopped and stared. I rolled my eyes and walked away. They chased after me and tried to get me to talk to them. My brother and ex were crying, saying they felt terrible. My dad finally grabbed me by the shoulder and turned me around, telling me to stop being an sass. Before I even knew what I was doing, I punched him in the face and kept walking away. Other people in the street stopped and stared, and my family told me I went too far. None of it mattered. I kept walking. Once I was on the L, I messaged Jenny and told her what she did was cruel and to find someone else to show her around. Didn't expect to hear anything else from her. But to my surprise, I woke up 2 days later to a long message from her apologizing and saying she had done it as a favor for my sister. She knew what my brother had done and felt I deserved to live my life how I chose, but that my sister had been insistent, and she felt like maybe she had missed something. She told me that after the punch, they walked back to her apartment and finished moving her in. She said she understands how I feel and thought I might like to hear the aftermath. Apparently my father and sister really haven't forgiven my brother and think my mom let him back in too soon. My brother and dad got on a nasty fight and Jenny asked them to leave because they were causing a scene. Jenny begged me to see her again and said she really felt bad and wanted to buy me dinner. I took her up on it. You'd also be naive if you knew Jenny, I promise. And luckily I am naive. Jenny and I hit it off and have been inseparable ever since. We are meeting heading back to Minnesota so she can introduce us to her family for Christmas. She actually cut off my sister and has promised I won't have to see them at all. It'll be nice to see my high school friends again. Hopefully my family leaves me alone. Update: well, you all were right. I never should have gone back to Minnesota. I'm back in Chicago, single, heartbroken, and seething with anger. Jenny's 23 female family seemed to welcome me with open arms. I had a good chat with her dad about Big Ten football. His mom wanted to know what I did for work and how her daughter was adjusting to Chicago, and if she was protected. No one mentioned my family, which, looking back, was a huge red flag. We had a great Christmas Eve dinner with the holiday-approved fettuccine alfredo. Christmas morning I got some good presents and we had a relaxing afternoon. But then Christmas dinner came. Jenny's mom set out 5 extra chairs and said family friends were coming over. I didn't think much of it until the doorbell rang. And you guessed it, in walk my parents, sister, and the idiot couple themselves. Turns out Christmas was an intervention for me to speak with my family. They came in looking smug. My mom started talking, saying that I needed to forgive and that what they did was wrong but my actions were unacceptable. My father then chimed in saying that enough is enough and that my punishment was complete, that my brother had done enough to earn the family's forgiveness. I shouldn't have, but I couldn't help myself. What family is that? Your family. I'm not a part of any family. I've changed my last name. I feel nothing for any of you. You chose him over me. That spoke volumes. You changed your last name. I looked over. Stacy had spoken. Just about everyone was shocked into silence. You loved your last name. You always told me it's you connected to your favorite baseball player, favorite baseball manager, and Billy Martin would have changed his last name too if his family had been the goons you all are. Jenny, find your own way home. I'll get my stuff later. With that I got up. Everyone was yelling after me but I didn't care. I got in the rental and drove it straight through to my apartment. Got back at 3 a.m. this morning. No idea how Jenny is going to get home, but F her and F her whole family. On to the next day, I guess. Update: sorry to disappear for so long. Can't believe it's been 2 years since I posted that. I was in such a dark place. Wish I could go back and tell him how much better life got. Let's catch you all up. After I got back, Jenny tried to come over and apologize. She came over one night and in late December knocked on my door and tried to tell me I was overreacting until the neighbors told her to shut up. I did open the door long enough to give her the box of her stuff she had left. She never did return the favor. Haven't seen her since she left. Lost my favorite hoodie, but life goes on. Not long after this I was getting groceries when I ran into Molly, then 24 now 26 female. Molly worked with Jenny and we had talked at their Christmas party. Molly had heard about the breakup and let's just say she aggressively wanted to take me to coffee. She knew what she wanted and she wouldn't take no for an answer. It was a bit much, not going to lie, but coffee with her was exactly what I needed. Mostly because she is exactly what I wanted, needed. She was everything. I guess I'm one of those guys that never wants to be single. Molly and I have been together for 2 years now, living together for 1, and recently we found out she was pregnant. We are overjoyed. I wouldn't say it was planned, but not like we were doing much to avoid it either. Now to the dilemma. My life is so much better. I haven't heard from my parents and Molly has respected that. She blocked all my relatives when I asked and has had no contact. But of course somehow my mother found out. She sent a box of my old baby stuff along with a letter asking that I let her see the baby. I kept the baby stuff. It was mine after all, but threw the letter away without responding. I thought that would be the end of it, but then my sister showed up at my doorstep. Molly answered the door and of course had no idea who this crazy lady is, but Molly kind of lost the upper hand when she started crying and let her in. My sister said she missed me and that Stacy and my brother got married last year, and she and her dad didn't go. Apparently my mom and dad are separated but not divorced. My sister is engaged and Stacy found out recently she can't have kids. I told my sister once again that I was no longer a part of the family, but she said her and our dad really want to make it up to me. that she is not inviting her mom or her brother to the wedding. She said my dad could come down this weekend to talk. Wally said she understands how hurt I am and knows that they crossed many boundaries, but maybe it's time to forgive. She didn't push though, stated she supports me either way. I just don't know. What do you all think? I know from the stories that my dad and sister disagreed with my mom. Growing up, my mom controlled the house and my brother was my mom's favorite. My sister is my dad's favorite, so if my sister is on board, then my dad probably is too. I'm torn. Help me out please. Any advice is appreciated. Story 2. I don't know where to start because I'm not even sure if this is weird or not. I started at this new job not long ago, and since the first day I've known there was a camera in my office. I don't think it's necessarily weird to have cameras in an office setting. There's cameras in all sorts of places for all kinds of reasons. But the camera in my office isn't any sort of built-in fixture, and my individual office room is the only office with a camera in it. On my first day of the job, I realized my boss was too aware of my actions. He said something to me that threw me off, and I knew he wouldn't have brought it up unless he had been watching me do something. It was just too coincidental, but it was casual at the same time, so it wasn't a direct allusion to the camera he has. But immediately after that incident, I scanned around the room, and I found a camera nestled into a cubby with a small wire that leads into his adjacent office. My other boss has also indirectly responded to my actions in the group chat. The few times I had spent an excessive amount of time on my phone were times that the "hey guys, let me know if you guys need anything to work on. I know things are slow" messages would trickle in. Anything that seemed to hint at me being watched was also said or done ambiguously enough that they weren't revealing anything about being able to see me, as if I'm not supposed to know I'm being watched. And that's what is unsettling to me. The camera is pointed directly at me, not the door, not the front of my desk, not anywhere else that would make sense for security. I have looked at everyone else's offices and didn't see a single camera. The camera is pointed specifically at me, and I don't even deal with money or anything that could be stolen. I don't know if I should bring this up. I'm not entirely mad, and I guess I understand the reasoning, like making sure I'm on task or some SHT. It just bothers me a little that I can be watched whenever, and they never even disclose that. I feel like someone being constantly monitored has the right to know that they are, especially since I'm the only one being watched like this. I at least use it to my advantage, because I at least know not to be on my phone lol. Update: I wasn't expecting so many responses. I genuinely appreciate how concerned everyone is about whether or not I'm okay. It makes me feel good knowing a lot of people care about a stranger's well-being. I've seen a lot of comments asking for an update, so this is really the most I have of one. Nothing has changed yet. I haven't brought it up to them, because part of me is wondering if they'll eventually remove it. I was curious to see if they would ever bring it up themselves, or if I could find a way to hint at the fact that I know. I sorta want them to stay unaware that I know, so I can see how they act in response to my actions, to potentially call it out in the future. The top comment is pretty funny about staring into the camera. There were a few times where something ridiculous would happen with something and I'd stare into the camera for a moment as if I was breaking the fourth wall. Elmao. I don't think I'm going to bring it up just yet. I actually really like working here. I get along with my coworkers and they pay me decently for what I do. For everyone asking, yes, I'm a woman. I don't think this is as much of a sexual harassment case as it is just a micromanaging thing. They haven't done or said anything to me to make me feel like they were hitting on me, just genuine politeness. My guess for the camera is that they're maybe testing my integrity and seeing how much time I spend on my phone even out of the view of other people, which I could understand. But wow, I wish there was another way besides a camera on me. There's been a few other micromanagey things to happen that have irked me a little, but I still like my bosses in spite of that. If something changes, like if I start getting the vibe that this is becoming creepy, I'll keep you guys updated. Oh, and also a few things I wanted to mention that a lot of people had ideas about. You guys had good ideas, BTW. Due to where it's at, it would be really hard to cover the camera with anything. I can't exactly reach it, so I'd have to find something like maybe a wide shelf that would block view from underneath it. The wire runs into my boss's office. You can't see the wire from mine, so I'd have to take a pic of it from inside his office. So I don't know if I'm able to evidence collect too easily. I'm also trying to be a bit vague with details, because I got a little paranoid about the idea of my boss somehow coming across this thread. Anyways, I appreciate you guys and I'm sorry I don't have a more thrilling update. I'll let you know if anything changes. Update: there's no HR, but the camera was removed thanks to IT. So, as previously stated, I still never said anything about the camera. I wasn't really comfortable with it, but I got used to being conscious of my actions so they weren't seeing anything I didn't want them to. There also isn't some sort of HR to talk to about this or anything like that. But our IT guy came in, and he asked my boss about it. I wasn't in the room, so I didn't hear entire conversation. But the first thing I heard was my boss saying that the camera was there before my office ever was. Something about using it to see the front door originally, I guess. That was a weird excuse to me, though, because I've been there for at least 2 months at this point, and there's no way they could have accidentally watched me as much as it felt like they had been. Hearing the conversation out loud also confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was a camera, and that I wasn't paranoid. The IT guy must have felt some type of way about it, because I didn't hear what he said, but I heard my boss say something about, well, it's not like I was just watching her in her office in sorta a quieter, sheepishly defensive way. Nobody said anything to me while they were removing it. They took it from his side, not mine, but they instead put it where it would be facing the front door. This happened just over a week ago. I haven't posted an update until now because I was waiting to see if the camera would be put back. I really wanted to see if they were gonna put it back a few days after IT left, because that would have been wild. But it's been over a week now, the camera is still away from me. It'll take some time before I stop feeling like I'm being watched all the time, though. I'm really curious what the guy said to my boss, whether he said something about it not being allowed or if he called it flat out creepy, haha. But I'm glad he did say something, as it got resolved without me ever having to say anything. I'd like to think he low-key had my back. I've still just been acting as if I've never known and haven't said anything about it, and work carries on. Also, it's so wild that this story got put in a Smosh video. Holy SHT. I heard the news back to back. First, the Hey Smosh just bought their channel back at the same time as Hey Your Post is in a new Smosh video. I made this post mostly to vent, because I couldn't tell if I had the right to feel so weird about this situation because everyone in my personal circle says it isn't that weird. So it's so nice that so many strangers are validating how I feel. To hear people talk about my experience on a public platform was a little surreal, I won't lie. This got so much more traction than I was ever expecting. But it makes me feel better, so thank you. Genuinely, my experience feels validated and it feels heard, and I feel better because of it. I'm still going to stay at this job, because I still like everyone here and I enjoy my field, but now I'll be doing it under a little less surveillance, lol. If the camera comes back, I'll let you know. Relevant comments. The real question is, if the camera was used to see the front door, why was it connected to his PC? Wouldn't you want something like that connected to a separate PC to record and back up the footage for security purposes? Also, are there security cameras inside or outside this business? If so, then that's super suspicious. The idea behind having the camera facing the door is that they know whether the people walking in are clients or just the mailman, another coworker. It's to avoid having to get up out of the office to check who's in the front, because there's no front desk technically. The weird thing to me, though, is that his office is actually the only office that you can see the front door from, so it doesn't make any sense for him to have one facing it. OP added this comment about why don't they sue. Here, I don't have the money for a lawyer. I'd also end up having to look for a new job during the legal process. Lawsuits can take years apparently. I still know several people fighting for compensation for on-site work injuries, and this is the best paying job I've had up until this point. There's also a lot of growth, so I'm willing to take the discomfort of this if it means I can survive without 2 jobs, haha. Plus, I don't even know if my case would have been solid enough anyway. The camera is moved and I never got a decent pic of the cam, or any evidence that it was actively recording. Not to mention, I literally just don't want to sue my bosses. They actually treat their employees really well and always compensate well for extra work that is done, instead of just piling on new work whenever they want. They're really sweet people that make me feel like my ideas actually matter, which is a nice feeling. I really appreciate how they do things, and even if the camera thing itself made me feel a little weird, it's the price I gotta pay to make a decent wage RN. The job market in my area isn't the best, TBH. This place is an 80% pay increase from the previous place I worked for similar work in the same area. Everyone in the company is also just super sweet. I get along with everyone and everyone seems pretty mutually respectful. Story 3. My wife Jess and I have been married for the past 13 years. We're both 39. After experiencing financial hardship throughout our 20s and early 30s, Jess and I are now fortunate enough to have the means to travel once or twice a year. The only problem is that Jess literally only wants to go to Disney World. We have been to Disney 9 times now, and every vacation we have ever taken together was to go there, including our honeymoon. So we go, we eat the Mickey Mouse ice cream, we wear the mouse ears, we stay in the official hotels, we see the characters, we ride the rides, we take the pictures in front of Cinderella's castle, and we come home. Every trip. I'm honestly beyond sick of Disney, and I never really liked going in the first place. Jess knows this, but she has no concept of travel beyond Disney. We're currently planning a trip for April, and Jess, as usual, said that we can just go to Disney. I explained that it sounds fun, but hey, why don't we go somewhere like Hawaii this time? Jess was confused. She asked why we would go to Hawaii. I responded that we could enjoy the spas and go to the beach. Jess mumbled a half-hearted answer and walked away. A few days later, she approached me, saying that she made hotel reservations for Hawaii. At first, I was excited because although she did so without consulting me, it seemed like she was really listening. But then when she showed me the hotel she booked, I found she had made reservations for Aulani, the Disney resort in Hawaii. Frustrated, I told her that I'm honestly tired of Disney and that I just want to have a different experience this time. She told me that she was compromising with me and that I should be appreciative for the time she spent. I asked her if she was willing to consider anything other than Disney for our trip, and she said no. At this point, I said that I wasn't going. Now she's furious. She canceled the reservation she made, and now she's looking for a friend to go to Disney World with again without me. Was I the idiot here for not trying to accommodate her request? Relevant comments. How the F did this go on for 9 trips without you saying something? I'd have gone mad after going a second time. FFS, does she realize there's a whole non-Disney world out there? And it's much less expensive with shorter lines. However, you should also consider being more truthful with your wife. If you can't even be truthful to your wife, who can you be truthful with? It obviously did not sound fun at all to you, so just be clear on that. In fact, the second time she booked the Disney trip, you should have been honest with her and suggested something else. At 39, it might be time to consider broadening her horizons and embracing more of what the world has to offer. Life is too short to be spent solely between home and Disney when there's so much out there waiting to be explored. Update: about a week ago, I made a post about an argument my wife Jess and I had. The TLDR version of it is Jess loves going to Disney World, and we have gone there for literally every trip during our marriage, which is now at an impressive 9 times. When I asked Jess if we could go somewhere like Hawaii, she suggested Aulani, the Disney resort, and I dismissed the idea immediately. This upset Jess. Here's the update. I screwed up. I know most people were giving me the not the idiot judgment, but Jess actually showed a great deal of openness to my idea. She took initiative by reserving the hotel because she wanted me to be happy. When I said nope, no Disney, she felt that I hadn't put any effort into taking her feelings into consideration. And she was completely right. I hadn't. It was, in a twisted way, my form of revenge for dragging me to Disney World all those times. In the last post, some people commented about how Aulani barely even looks like a Disney resort at all. This is something I should have researched myself before I threw the gauntlet down with Jess. When I looked into it, it looks like a run-of-the-mill Hawaiian resort. In my defense, going to Disney World 9 times has kind of made me sensitive, and I'm fairly sure that on a Rorschach test I'd see nothing but mouse ears at this point. But I really should not have jumped to conclusions. A day after I made the post, I approached Jess and apologized. I was wrong. Yes, she might be a Disney adult, but aside from always wanting to go to their theme parks, she's never obnoxious about it. I said I was sorry and asked for permission to reserve the hotel again. And Jess responded that she'd love to go to Aulani with me. When I told her that it's not really all that Disney, Jess said of course I knew that. I wanted to go because my sister said it was beautiful. I'm a MRN. Jess and I have replanned our vacation, and we're super excited to be going now. I came to this realization because a lot people pointed out some things I should have figured out myself. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.